Going to give a minute for people to come in from the waiting room. Okay. And just a reminder, as you are coming in from the waiting room, please mute yourself unless and until you are appearing or testifying before the board. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, February 1st, 2022. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing will be recorded and posted to the City of Boston website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. Thank you, Danny. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm chair of the licensing board for the City of Boston, and today I'm joined by Commissioner Kiana Saxon and Commissioner Liam Curran.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly when you are testifying. I will call each item in the order it appears on the agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with knowledge of the alleged incident. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record. The licensee or the representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chairwoman and the commissioners. Again, all testimony will be limited only to individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Calling item number 1 on today's agenda, Yo Yiv Corp. Doing business as the Master McGrath, located at 1152 to 1154 River Street in Hyde Park. Date of the incident, July 12th, 2021. Assault and battery with a dangerous weapon in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 15A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee? Is there anybody here on behalf of the Master McGrath?
James Thomas.
I'm sorry, could you repeat your name, please?
James Thomas.
James Thomas, thank you. And are you able to be on camera, Mr. Thomas?
For some reason, my camera's not working.
Okay. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
There's an Officer Borby or Sergeant Ruvalis that were sent notices to appear. I spoke to Officer Borby, but he was having a little difficulty with his Zoom. So if necessary.
Yeah, Lieutenant, I'm here.
Okay, beautiful.
I'm trying to figure it out. I got it.
Great, thank you. And are you able to be on camera, officer?
Give me a sec, please.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, we see you now. Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify on this matter today? Okay, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great, you may proceed with the police report, Officer Borby.
I'm Sergeant Detective Ruvalis.
Oh, sorry about that. Please go ahead.
Okay. At about 12:11 a.m., E18 units responded to 1154 River Street. They were dispatched for a report that there was a fight at Master McGrath's involving bottles and chairs, but no knives or guns. On arrival, officers spoke to one of the victims, Rebecca Delaney, and another victim by the name of Jonathan, unknown last name, in the rear parking lot. Victim Delaney appeared to have a serious cut on her hand. EMS showed up and treated her cuts, but she refused to go to the hospital. She also appeared to be extremely intoxicated, and she wasn't giving us any information about what had happened at the bar. Victim Jonathan stated, "I'm not obligated to give my name." He was uncooperative. The victim pointed to another witness by the name of Martin Kelly and stated it was that gentleman's son who chopped my hand. Witness Martin Kelly stated to one of the officers that he was trying to break up the fight after being treated by Boston EMS. Like I said, victim Delaney refused to be transported to the hospital. Officers spoke to the bartender, identified as Tommy Horner, who stated he was working at the bar when two girls started arguing in the restroom, and they started swinging at each other after exiting the ladies' room. Mr. Horner stated he was trying to break up the fight. While officers were at Master McGrath's, they got dispatched to the fire station on Fairmont Ave for another group of individuals who were involved with the incident. When they got there, They spoke to a suspect by the name of Joseph Kiley, who stated he was at the bar ordering a drink, and he stated, "Bang, I got hit in the head. It was crazy." Mr. Kiley was treated by EMS, but he also refused to be transported. They spoke to another victim by the name of Margaret Berry and witnesses Brennan Doyle and Thomas Kiley. Victim Berry stated she was watching a soccer game, and the other victim, Rebecca Delaney, grabbed her by the hair. Witnesses Doyle and Kiley stated that they were trying to break up the fight. Suspect Joseph Kelly and witness Thomas Kiley are both sons of the witness, Martin Kelly. So I wasn't present during this, but I watched the incident on the officer's body cameras, and it appeared like all parties involved were related, and they were new in town from Ireland. And we tried to do a follow-up. The information that they gave us, nothing came back, and CGIS, the telephone numbers appeared to be bogus. So basically, we didn't have any victims to pursue charges, criminal charges.
Great. Thank you, Sergeant Detective. Mr. Thomas, would you like to address the alleged incident?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I will turn to Chairwoman Joyce for any questions.
Okay. Mr. Thomas, are you the manager of record?
I am.
Okay. Were you there on this evening?
I was not there that night.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to speak to the staff that were there that night? Just wanted to get from you your perspective of what happened that night.
I did. It was pretty much how it was in the police report. It seemed to appear they were family members. They had a little squabble, and it ended up in a little pulling hair and stuff like that. Kind of just how it was in the report.
Okay. And then just to confirm, it was your bartender that called the police?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran?
Nothing for me, thank you.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Calling item number 2, Old Colonial Corporation, doing business as Bell in Hand, located at 45 to 55 Union Street. Date of the alleged incident, November 5th, 2021. Assault and battery, staff on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Yes, Attorney Trish Malone representing Old Colonial Corporation doing business as Bell in Hand. I also have with me today the bartender, Miss Carly Lenahan.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Megan Walsh.
Detective Walsh. Great. And are there
So
any other
Officer
individuals?
Murray here also.
I'm sorry, what was the name?
She's on mute.
Sergeant Whiteman.
Thank
Some
you.
Officer Murray here also. I think she can unmute herself.
Officer Murray, she appears to be unmuted.
Sergeant Whiteman, I'm here also.
Sergeant Whiteman, Officer Murray, Detective Walsh. Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify on this matter today? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Who will be reading the police report into the record? That Detective Walsh?
Yeah, if Officer Murray wrote it, if she wants to read it, she can read it. If not, I can read it into the record.
Oh, Officer Murray, you appear to be muted somehow. No, we're still not able to hear you, unfortunately.
Okay, I can read it if that.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, about 1:22 a.m. on Friday, November 5th, 2021, officers Murray and Grady in the Alpha 101 Alpha responded to a radio call for an assault and battery in progress at 45 Union Street, Bell in Hand Tavern, Boston. Upon arrival, the officer spoke with the victim, Priya Chandok, date of birth 10/7 of 98, who stated that she was in the above location when she was assaulted by an employee. Chandok stated that she was told she could no longer be in the establishment and needed to leave. Chandok stated that she was going to the coat check and grabbed her coat when a female employee, Kylie Linehan, date of birth 6/20/91, smacked her head into another person's head. Chandok pointed to the left side of her face, just above her eyebrow, and stated that she felt immediate pain in that area. Chandok was asked multiple times if she would like EMS, and EMTs that were stationed around the corner came out as well, and she denied needing them. Officer Grady spoke to a witness, an acquaintance of Chandok, Esther Yee, date of birth 8/5/95, who stated that her friend was drunk, but she observed Linehan shove Chandok. Yee and other acquaintances of Chandok believe that they were being racially targeted. The officers then spoke to the bouncer of the above location, Matthew Spallone, date of birth 7/15/2000, who stated he was asking Chandok to leave the bar because she was intoxicated. Spallone stated that he asked to help with one of his coworkers, Linehan, for assistance. Spallone stated that Chandok and her friend said to him that he racially assaulted him and said to him, "Asshole, fuck you, you're white." The officers then spoke to Linehan, who was bartending at the time, and observed Chandok and her friends to be intoxicated. Linehan stated that she asked Spallone for his assistance in escorting them out. Linehan stated then Chandok asked him for help in grabbing her coat. Linehan said that Chandok was stumbling and she may have fallen, but at no point did she put her hands on her. Officers requested the A1 Patrol Supervisor, Sergeant Whiteman, the Alpha 906, who responded to Kentucky Code 35. The manager, Hector Herrera, 1/22/93, was advised to save all camera footage. Chandok was given the incident number on scene.
Thank you, Detective. Attorney Malone, would you like to address the alleged violation?
Yes, I just have a few questions for, is it Sergeant Whiteman?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, when you were on the premises that night, did the licensee cooperate with you?
Yes, ma'am.
When you got on the premise, did you happen, the women at that point, were they still outside the premise or were they gone? Or where were the women that had been escorted out? Do you know?
I don't recall seeing the women. I think they'd already been escorted out when I went in.
Okay, so then you in no way saw any type of, because you didn't see them, you have no way of knowing whether there was any laceration or any cut or anything that Ms. Chandok was claiming that she was hit. Because you didn't see her, you have no knowledge of whether or not there was any lacerations or anything relative to any alleged altercation between Ms. Linehan and Ms. Chandok, correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Okay, I have no further questions for the Boston Police Department. Briefly, I have Miss Linehan with me. Briefly, she was on that evening. There's some discrepancy between what Mr. Spallone said and she said. Mr. Spallone has subsequently been terminated. However, she was in fact asked and escorted these three women to the coat room, got their coats, got their belongings, and then turned them back over to the bouncers. She was cashing out when the Boston Police Department came back up and speak to her. She had no idea that this happened. She was actually extremely surprised that someone had made that allegation against her. She cooperated with the Boston Police Department and she answered the questions. Subsequently to that, the Boston Police Department actually came to the premises several days later and actually got the videotape, which I would like to, it is in your office, Madam Director, and I would like to add that to the testimony today. If I could just have 2 or 3 questions. Ms. Linehan?
Yes, yes,
Okay, so can I have your testimony as far as whether or not there was any interaction, anything that could be taken as you hitting or assaulting Ms. Chandok?
yes.
No.
Or do you want me to?
Say, did you have any interaction
Oh.
that night physically with Ms. Chandok as she alleged?
No,
Okay, and did you actually know, you cooperated with the Boston Police Department, correct?
yes,
Did you know, did you at any time know that there was a tape of the interactions and that the Boston Police had actually asked for it?
yes,
Okay, and then after you were questioned by the Boston Police Department, were you subsequently notified by anyone from the Boston Police Department?
yes.
And can, at this point, I guess, Detective Walsh. Can you tell me, it was Detective Walsh?
Correct. Detective Megan Walsh with
Okay.
A1 called
Okay.
me and said she reviewed the footage and said that Mr. Kessler provided to Boston Police and said that there was no assault on my part and that the Boston Police would not be pursuing criminal charges against me. And she did state that as we were walking over to Kochek, another patron was dancing and swung and bumped into Ms. Chandok. But I did not recall that happening. But there was no assault on my part.
Detective Walsh?
Yes, ma'am. I did review the CCTV footage that was provided. What it looks like is as Miss Linehan and other employees were helping to escort the patrons out and the named victim, Miss Chandok, that another group of patrons were dancing on the dance floor, and one of the females was turned around, and when she was turned around, the back of her head smashed into the victim's forehead, front of her face area, which may have caused the injury that she alleges in this report. But in my reviewing of it, it looked as if the employees of the Bell in Hand were doing what they could to remove the intoxicated patrons, and that there was no assault or wrongdoing on their part.
Okay, I appreciate that. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce.
Thank you. And Attorney Malone, we did receive that video this morning. We have it and we'll add it to the file. I don't have any questions at this time. Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran, do you?
Nothing further. Thank you.
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you
all.
for your, thank you for your time.
Thank you. And the board will take this matter under advisement with that. Calling item number 3, the Black Rose Inc. doing business as Black Rose located at 160 State Street, dated the incident November 17th, 2021, assault and battery patron on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Sheldon Cohen.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Megan Walsh.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify today? Great. Can you both please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Detective Walsh, you may proceed with the police report.
Okay. About 22 hours on Friday, 11/19/2021, victim Martin F. Hainsbury walked into Area A1 to file assault and battery report from 160 State Street, the Black Rose. Victim states that on 11/17/21, around 1 a.m. hours, the lights came on, the music stopped, and everyone was informed that it was time to go from the Black Rose. Victim states that he had some words with an elderly male, and a woman intervened and informed the elderly male was her father. Victim then states unknown suspects struck him with a closed fist in the face, knocking him down and causing multiple injuries described above. Victim states that he was asked by the staff if he needed the police, and he stated no. Victim states they handed him a towel and asked him to leave since blood was landing on the floor. The victim states he returned the next day and asked to speak to management, was informed there was no on-duty manager. Victim was advised to seek medical attention, and victim informed officer that he's going to Wellesley Newton Hospital for evaluation. Note, victim states suspect was with a group of Irish people who came from Manchester, New Hampshire to watch one of their friends. Victim further states manager from the Black Rose informed him that all of the Irish visitors will be back on Saturday, 11/20/21.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Cohen, would you like to address the alleged incident? I'm sorry, Mr. Cohen, are you there? Oh, we see you now. You were frozen.
I wasn't
for a
there
minute.
firsthand. But you got me? Okay. Yes, I wasn't there at the time of the exact incident. I was working that night. I did get the video surveillance to Detective Walsh. When I reviewed the video, it concurred with the staff said. The victim was there a lot of the night. There was an MMA fight in New Hampshire that weekend, and there was a group of families in from Ireland to watch. It featured an Irish fighter, I guess, and they were at the Black Rose that night. several groups, varying of age from parents to kids to cousins, that kind of thing. And they were around watching the music and stuff like that. Not a real big deal. The victim was there that night, and you can see him on the video going from group to group. He says he was buying them drinks, this and that. As it approached the end of the night, the music finished. You could see him talking to one particular girl, and they were talking. She was being cordial. You can't hear the audio in it. They separate. She goes back to her table. He pursues her a couple more times to continue the conversation. At some point, you could see her in the video get agitated and angry. An older gentleman does kind of step in between them, but the girl pushes him away like she's handling whatever. And then a younger gentleman, family member, I assume, steps in as well. The girl gets between the two, and the victim actually pushes the guy. And the guy does hit him and knocks the victim down. The door staff, the lights were up, the music was done. We were, it was the end of the night. Door staff gets over. The guy, the person who hit the victim, Mr. Hansberry, goes off camera. They ask him, the victim, if he needs any assistance. They get him back up. He doesn't want anything to do with the police coming or EMT or anything like that, and he leaves on his own. He does come back the next night and cause a ruckus at the door, yelling in. He somehow believes that these people were going to be back again and again. I don't know where he would get that. We didn't see them again. Detective Walsh came in and questioned me about the incident, provided her the video. The only thing I know is they were, as far as the people who were in, they were from Ireland. They were from Donegal. So they were in for the weekend, and then I believe they were back home.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
I'm just confused. Did you say at the end of your testimony that the gentleman came back the next night?
The victim did. He came in looking.
The victim did.
Yeah, he was somehow under the impression. He says in his statement that someone told him that they'd be there the next night or they'd be there all weekend.
Okay.
I don't know how anyone would have known that, and I didn't see them again. Nobody else did.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran, do you?
I guess, does the videotape show that it was a number of minutes before the guy hit the victim? Was there any amount of time where it could have been prevented is what I'm trying to get at.
Thank you for contacting the Boston Cannabis Board. Please leave your name, enter your ID.
Are we still on?
Yep, sorry about that. We muted it.
It's okay. No, it was literally the girl was between the two of them. The victim reaches over her and pushes the kid, and the kid just right back at him. It was a second between both of them touching each other, pushing or hitting each other.
Okay. Any further questions from the commissioners? No. Okay, thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Calling item number 4, the Black Rose Inc., doing business as Black Rose, located at 160 State Street. Date of the incident, December 2nd, 2021. Patron drinking on public way, public consumption of alcohol in front of premise, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.09D. An expired ISD posted 2020, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.02B. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Sheldon Cohen.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
Detective Hernandez, thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, you may continue with the police report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to the BPD license premise unit conducted a license premise inspection of Black Rose located at 160 State Street in Boston. While walking up to the establishment, detectives observed two patrons drinking beers in front of the premise on the public way. Detectives advised the patrons they could not bring alcohol outside of the establishment and brought the situation to the attention of the front door staff. Upon reviewing the licenses and permits of the establishment, detectives observed that there was no current inspectional services department certificate posted. The post certificate had expired in 2020. Detectives brought these issues to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Sheldon Cohen. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 044673 for no current IST certificate posted and for patrons drinking alcohol in front of premise on public way. Mr. Cohen signed for and accepted the notice.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Cohen, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes. I mean, this is always an ongoing issue for us. We have a lot of European customers, and this is just European. You know, if you're going for a cigarette, you can bring your beer out with you and have your cigarette and go back in with your beer. So we're constantly training and teaching the guys to keep an eye out for it, to explain to people. But these two got by as the detectives were walking by. They were out there. So it's something we're aware of. It's something we take seriously. It's something that we're constantly trying to keep an eye on.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. I'll turn it over to Chairwoman Joyce if she has any questions.
Detective Hernandez, were they smoking outside?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Sheldon, how many staff did you have on that night?
I believe there's 2 or 3 door guys at that time, and myself.
So was it a question of too many people were going out at the same time? Did you talk to the staff how this, get an explanation of how this might have happened?
Yes, we were actually all talking together with the detectives and myself as well. I think there was probably 5 or 6 of them at a time, and they probably just had it down at their side as they walked out the door, and in the crowd through the doorway, they just missed it.
Okay.
You know, honestly, if to be like a hockey goal, you just, you know, grab people at the front door and just keep an eye on them. It is always an issue.
Okay, I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran?
And the ISDs, or what's the story behind that?
It was just, we had trouble in multiple locations getting everything caught up through the pandemic and reopening. Everything's up to date now.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Great. Any further questions from the board? Oh, seeing none, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Item number 5 has been continued due to the at the request of the licensee. Calling item number 6, 425 Broadway LLC, located at 425 West Broadway in South Boston. Date of the alleged incident, October 31st, 2021. Drug use on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Morning, Mr. Green, Madam Chair, members of the board. Dennis Quilty, attorney representing the licensee. With me is the manager of record, Will Clark. Good morning.
Good morning. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the incident who wish to testify today? Okay, could you all please raise your right hand? Thank you. I'm not there. Great, I do see him. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, you may proceed with the police report.
Yes, good morning. On Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD licensed premise unit, responded to the Lincoln Restaurant located at 425 West Broadway, Boston, to speak to staff regarding an incident that occurred on October 31st, 2021, BPD number 212-079-420. Detectives spoke to the manager, Brian Farnham, and informed him that a patron had reported that she believed she had been drugged while inside the premise on October 30th, 2021. Upon further investigation, the victim stated that she did have a drug test administered at the hospital. The test came back positive for ketamine. Mr. Farnham stated that he was unaware of the incident and that the establishment would assist in any way that they could. As a result of what detectives became aware of, Sergeant Gallery issued license premise inspection notice number 005325 for drug use on premise. Mr. Farnham signed for and accepted the notice. Those essentially are the facts.
Thank you. Attorney Quilty, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, if I may, Detective Gallagher, there is an initial report, is there not, of this incident?
Yes,
About
I
a
can
month-
read that in the record if you'd like.
Well, I think they're connected, so I just wanted to
Sure.
make sure that got.
Sure, let me start with that one, Attorney Quilty.
Thank
At
you,
about
sir.
1 a.m. on Sunday, 10/31/2021, Officers McCarthy and the Fox 421, while on code 19 in the area of Dorchester Street in West Broadway, was flagged down by a female at 106 Dorchester Street, South Boston. Assisting in the call was the Fox 905 Albanese and the Fox 499 Officer Danforel. Upon arrival, officers observed an unknown white female, later identified as Abigail Piper Graham, laying on the ground, incoherent and going in and out of consciousness. Officers spoke with the victim friend, Sydney Swiggerhin, who stated that they had just left the Lincoln Tavern on West Broadway when her friend started to puke and stated she could not walk and did not feel right. The friend stated at that point, the victim started going in and out of consciousness and not responding. The victim stated that the victim only had a few drinks and believed her drink was spiked. Officers requested EMS and a C6 patrol supervisor. At the time, dispatch reported that Boston EMS was delayed citywide. At that point, the victim was less responsive and was very lightly breathing. Officers on scene made the decision to transport the victim and her friend to Boston Medical Center for attention. That's that report, sir.
Thank you. Thanks very much,
You're welcome.
Detective.
No problem.
So the original incident happened on October 31st, according to the reports. And your inspection notice was delivered on November 23rd, approximately 3+ weeks later. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did when you delivered that inspection notice, the establishment indicated they had no knowledge of the incident? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it would appear that the passage of time perhaps had something to do with that?
No, sir. Both victims were out of state, and it took me a while to get a hold of them. And I think the report was assigned to a C6 detective. I'm not sure where that investigation has gone.
No, what I mean is that if the establishment didn't hear about this until 3+ weeks later, it would explain why they didn't know anything about it, perhaps.
It could be, yes, sir. Well,
Yeah.
once again, she collapsed outside the premise around the corner, so they probably didn't have knowledge of that night.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And when you went, did the establishment cooperate with you?
Yes, sir, they did.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions of the detective. I do want to, Mr. Clark is here. Madam Chair, first of all, we'd like to let the board know that we're sorry for what happened to this individual, but we literally had no knowledge of anything until 3.5 weeks later. There was no complaint made to staff by anyone on the night in question. Unfortunately, with the passage of time, the video, which they would have normally, had run its course, if you will, and played over. It was just impossible to retrieve anything at that point in time. And again, I mean, just there was no victim complaint. There was no request for help. There was nothing that they were aware of on the night in question. So I just want to make sure the board knows that. But again, we're sorry for what happened here. I think the board is aware. I had one of these cases not too long ago, and there have been others. There seems to be something happening again with these incidents of potentially people spiking drinks, et cetera. As a result, the licensee has been on heightened alert for these kinds of issues. It's a very popular establishment with young people. They've retrained their staff to make sure that they're on the lookout for any activity that might appear suspicious. removing drinks from the bar immediately when they're put down so that they can't be there to be added to, if you will. And again, I would ask Mr. Clark just to be available here. Mr. Clark, having been sworn, just state your name and your position for the record.
Will Clark, General Manager, Lincoln Tavern.
And did you have any knowledge of this incident until after you were notified by Detective Gallagher?
No, not until we were notified.
And subsequently, did you inquire of your staff that were on that night?
I did. I went and spoke to Brian and anyone else that was working, and there was no complaints or no one that had been like carried out or anything, even close to that.
Okay, and would you just explain to the board what steps you've taken at the establishment subsequently?
All our guest-facing staffs are tip certified. We've done a lot of like coaching during pre-meal services and things like that about keeping an eye out for suspicious people, as well as you already mentioned, as you walk by a table, if there's a drink there and coats and it looks like, someone's maybe taking a smoke break or something like that, to just clear the drinks. It's just a lot easier for us to remake them than it is to worry about, someone leaving themselves exposed.
Thank you, sir. The chair of the board members may have some questions for you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I missed your name. You're on as Gretchen. What's your name?
Oh, sorry, I'm Will Clark.
Okay. Mr. Clark, did you receive this board's advisory on November 22nd regarding nightlife safety?
We did.
Okay. And you've reviewed that with your staff?
Yes, and continue to do so.
Okay. And you've received the advisory that Boston Police sent out as well? Correct. Okay. I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now calling item number 7, Zen Zero LLC, doing business as Trade, located at 530 Atlantic Ave, date of the incident December 1st, 2021. Blocked fire exit table and chairs in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.06A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
This is the owner, Eric Papachristos, and now we also have our general manager, Harry, and our COO, John Mendez.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
Great, Detective Hernandez. Could you all please raise your right hand? And do I see the other folks you mentioned, Mr. Papachristos? I see Mr. Mendez. There's one other member. Great. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Detective Hernandez, you may proceed with the police report.
Good morning again. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, Detective Eddie Hernandez, signed of the BPD license premise unit, conducted a license premise inspection of Trade located at 530 Atlantic Avenue in Boston. While inside the premise to review the restaurant's licenses and permits, detectives observed the establishment's rear fire exit was blocked by a table and chairs. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Harry Mr. Asimus stated he would immediately correct the situation. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 044667 for blocked fire exit tables and chairs. Mr. Asimus signed for and accepted the notice. That's all.
Thank you, Detective. Mr. Papachristos, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, actually, Harry, our general manager, can update us on what had happened that night and sort of steps going forward.
Go ahead.
Hello, good morning. This is Harry. I was at Trade that night on December 1st. We were hosting a private event, as we usually do before the Christmas holidays. The event had finished. It was in the end of the night, close to the end of the service. And some of our team members were resetting the private dining room for the next day. So during this resetting situation, some of the furniture were stocked in the basement. So they were broken in the first floor, and they temporarily had stocked them back there. Meanwhile, the detectives arrived at Trade, so we had to do the license inspection with them. This situation took approximately 30 minutes. So my intention was not in what our new staff was doing. But we did the whole inspection for the licensing, and then our staff had wrongfully placed some of the furniture next to the back exit temporarily while they were waiting for my direction. We apologize. We understand that it was not the correct thing to do. When the detectives finished their walkthrough in the restaurant, they checked the back exit. I explained to them that that was a temporary situation, and it was part of our resetting process for the restaurant. I started immediately trying to fix the situation, and 15 minutes later, after the detectives left, all the furniture was in the private dining room. Our policy since then is very clear. Nothing is stocked, not even temporarily close to the back exit. The furniture goes directly in the PDR, and nothing. And I apologize and guarantee that something like this will never happen in the future. We no longer store anything, not even temporarily back there, and our back exit is always clear and nothing stocked.
Thank you. Any other members of your team wish to add anything? Okay.
No.
Chairwoman Joyce, any questions?
Detective, were they cooperative?
Yes, very cooperative.
Okay, I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran?
Nothing further, thank you.
I do not. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Calling item number 8, Big Night Venues Boston 2 LLC, doing business as Empire, located at 1 Marina Park Drive. Date of the incident, December 5th, 2021. Service of more than 2 alcoholic drinks to 1 patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Charles Kane, Executive Director of Security for Big Night, and Jamie Pollock, Vice President of Operations for Boston.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective William Gallagher.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify on this matter? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Sergeant Detective Gallagher, you may proceed with the police report.
Yes, good morning. On Sunday, December 5th, 2021, Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to the BPD Licensed Premise Unit, conducted a licensed premise inspection of Empire located at 1 Marina Park Drive in Boston. Upon entering the establishment, detectives observed a patron walking away from the bar with 3 Coronas and 1 mixed drink. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Evans, Gene St. Louis. Mr. Gene St. Louis immediately took corrective action and spoke to the bartender in question. As a result, what detectives had observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued licensed premise inspection notice number 044675 to service of more than 2 drinks to 1 patron at a time. This is a prohibited practice in violation of Mass Law 204 CMR 4 Section B. Mr. Gene St. Louis signed for and accepted notice. Those essentially are the facts.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Pollock, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, I'd just like to note that we did take corrective action immediately when the police were there and did cooperate with the police. And now Jamie Pollock will explain the after action that Big Night took regarding this incident that night.
Yes, I do also want to say we were part of the mistake on the bartender's behalf is that we were on a private party for Panera Bread. She is a new bartender. She was a little bit confused about the policies. Evans, which is our manager on duty, immediately corrected that vision, and we did sit her down for corrective action and a write-up, just so she knows how seriously we take any violation of the mass liquor laws. Where we send every bartender for tips training. It's very important to us to make sure that everybody has an understanding of these rules. We have had a big operation to train and to come out of the pandemic over the last 7 months and rebuild our teams. But that's our problem, obviously not yours, but corrective action was taken. We take it seriously. We always cooperate, and I have no doubt that it will not be an issue again.
Thank you, Chairwoman Joyce. Any questions?
I actually don't have any questions. Commissioner Saxon, Commissioner Curran?
None for me, thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Calling item number 9, BDGA LLC, located at 69 Canal Street. Date of the incident, December 11th, 2021. Persons under 21 in possession of alcohol on premise in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Sections 34A, 34C, and 6464A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Mr. Green. Attorney William Ferrullo on behalf of the licensee. We should have Nick Frederoli, who's the owner manager, on a telephone line, I believe, and Jason DiBenedetto, who was the manager on duty that evening, is also on the telephone line.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
Detective Hernandez. Thank you. Could all parties please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, you may proceed with the police report.
Good morning again. I'll be reading from our police report, which I wrote on Saturday, December 11th, 2021. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez signed to the BPD license premise unit, conducted a license premise inspection of Bodega Canal located at 57 Canal Street in Boston. While detectives were walking past the bar area, detectives observed 3 female patrons standing at the bar with alcoholic drinks. Detectives noticed these females looked young, and detectives asked them to produce identification to confirm their ages. The 3 female patrons stated they were over 21 and produced a driver's license that initially appeared as though they were all over 21 years of age. Detectives used the license verification program, which confirmed that the driver's licenses were indeed fraudulent. The fraudulent driver's license contained the person's name but displayed a date of birth made it appear as though they were over 21 years of age. The fraudulent driver's licenses were confiscated by detectives. After further investigation, detectives were able to confirm the underage identities of Marabella Peters, Tara McDonald, and Amanda Sachs. These patrons will be summoned into court for persons under 21 possession of alcohol and possession of fraudulent identification. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Jason DiBenedetto. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license premise inspection notice 060982 for persons under 21 years old in possession of alcohol on premise. Mr. DiBenedetto signed for and accepted the notice. That's all.
Thank you, Detective. Attorney Ferrullo, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, Detective Hernandez, just a few questions. When you arrived that evening, was there a door staff that was both checking and scanning IDs?
That's what they told us.
Did you observe a door staff?
I'm sorry, was your question? Was there new staff or was there
No,
staff at the door?
Staff at the door.
Oh, yeah, there was a gentleman at the front door. Yes.
And when you talked to Mr. DiBenedetto, did he also show you that the log of the screening of the IDs that they were doing that evening?
Yes.
And they were using the same screening mechanism that you and I believe Sergeant Detective Gallagher had recommended to them?
Yeah, yes, they are. But on that log, these young ladies were not, we didn't see their names scanned on that log.
Correct. But they, Mr. Benedetto and staff cooperated, showed you those items and spoke to you about their process.
Yes, sir, fully cooperative.
Thank you, sir. What I would add, Madam Chair, members of the board, is the establishment generally puts door staff out between 9:30 and 10 who have an iPad that not only do they check the IDs, but they also scan them. This evening, the women that were involved that did have driver's licenses showing they were over 21 came in prior to the door staff being outside. When that's the case, the policy is that the IDs are examined by either the server or the bartender, and then that server or bartender is supposed to go to the host station, or in the event of the bar, they're supposed to have an iPad there where they can scan them as well. It's only later in the evening that the door staff starts doing this. We have moved up the door staff hours now to 8:30 as opposed to 9:30. And the server involved in this states that she examined the IDs, but she couldn't remember if she brought them to the host stand to be scanned. So when we checked, Mr. Benedetto, he could find no record of them being scanned. So we believe she did not bring them to the host stand or forgot to bring them to the host stand. Again, I think we have a very good policy in place. We use the scanning mechanism that's been recommended by the Boston Police Department, and this was sort of a gap in the process when we believe one of our servers simply didn't bring those over to the host stand to be scanned.
Thank you, Attorney Farrell. Did you have any questions of your witnesses, or did you want to move on to the questions from the board?
We have Mr. Benedetto should be on the line. He was there present. He assisted the police officers. He provided them the log to show that they were following the procedures. As mentioned, they could not find those 3 IDs of those women. That's when they went back to the server to inquire of her if she had followed the procedure. We have in fact terminated her because we believe she didn't in fact bring those over to the host stand to be scanned.
Thank you, Chairman Joyce. Any questions?
Detective Hernandez, what time did you arrive that night,
Can look at the report, I'm sorry.
roughly?
Approximately. About, it looks like at approximately 10:30, 10:40, somewhere in between there.
Okay. And were they Massachusetts fake IDs?
Yes.
Okay. And would you say that the 3 women, would you say that they looked like they were 21, or did they not look like they were 21?
They did not look like they were 21. That's what brought our attention to them.
Okay. Right. I don't have any other questions. Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran?
None from me, thank you.
Detective Hernandez, did you compare the licenses? They were Massachusetts, correct?
Yes.
Did you compare them to an actual Massachusetts license? Did the holograms, did the writing, that kind of stuff, did that look correct?
I mean, they look pretty good here, but if you're gonna just like look at them with the naked eye, you know, they look fairly decent IDs. I mean, that's why we employ our license verification reader that we use.
So you would say that the IDs that these people had were close enough looking to a real ID that they have to be scanned. You can't rely on the fact that they look like a Massachusetts license.
Correct, sir. And that they actually use the same program, so I don't know what the where the disconnect was.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Okay, the board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes the violation portion of today's hearing. The next item is an informational hearing, which we will conduct for licensee LMN Inc. doing business as Alex Pizza after a quick 3-minute break for the board. We will resume here in 3 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to make sure all of our commissioners are back as well. See Commissioner Curran. I see Commissioner Saxon. Perfect. All right, we will now proceed with the final item on today's agenda, item number 10. Again, before we begin, I just want to reiterate, this is an informational hearing. This is not a disciplinary proceeding. There was no specific violation that we are dealing with today. The licensee in question is LMN Inc. doing business as Alex's Pizza. located at 1252 to 1254 Washington Street in Roxbury. This informational hearing was called pursuant to numerous complaints received by the board regarding quality of life issues in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 140. I'll ask who is present today on behalf of the licensee.
Good morning, Mr. Green and members of the board. My name is Attorney George Jabor. I represent the licensee. The licensee and his son and also the landlord should be present on Zoom. I can't tell from my screen, but I believe they should be.
Yeah, hi. I'm presenting from my dad. My dad is the owner, but I'm also the manager of the store.
Great, thank you very much. Attorney Jabor, did you want to make any comments at the outset, or did you want to hear some of the testimony first?
I would like make a quick statement and hear the testimony. Alex's Pizza has been there less than 20 years, almost 20 years, and the owner, Arthur Leon, has been there probably 50 years and is very fond of these tenants. They have a 3 o'clock license, and Mr. Nasser, who is the owner of the premises, and his son, Mr. Nasser, has a speaks English, but probably couldn't articulate his position that well. Alex's Pizza, as I said, has been there a while, and in 2019, they obtained the license to open at 3 a.m. Primarily, they do takeout in those early morning hours. They cater to the first responders, doctors that work in the hospitals nearby, police officers, ambulance drivers, firemen, and they have regular clientele during those hours. And the reason I mention that because they tell their regular clientele, be respectful when they come and pick up their food. And once in a while, that doesn't occur, but they do go out and have posted signs to tell people not to double park and to be quiet. I think that's one of the issues that have been complained about by the residents. And incidentally, I just want to add the fact that, and I'm not saying this in any disrespectful way, but the people that are complaining live in a particular building, I believe, and I don't know this for a fact, but from the information I received, I try to reach out to the city liaison, but I have not heard, just to find out the lay of the land, so to speak, if you will. So in any event, I think the tenants that live and own in 1313 Washington Street are the ones that have been complaining, from what I can tell from the information that you were good enough to provide, Mr. Green, from the board. And there are residences that live much closer to the establishment, the licensed establishment. A lot of them are supportive, and if need be, they could obtain letters of support and also have them testify. But since this is not a violation hearing, we're here to say unequivocally, we're here to work with the neighborhood and try to correct anything that is creating any issues with the neighbors. As I said, I may have said, the manager of the premises, name is Musa, has been to one of the tenants who of 1313 Washington Street, who has sent some of the emails to the board and has brought a pizza as a peace offering to try to tell her that if there's any issues that they should contact him or the management or the owners of the premises. And I just want to interject, there's also a human element of this, which I may say that Mr. Nasser is an immigrant to this country, works very hard and works long hours. And because of the nature of the restaurant business, the only way he can survive and support his family is to work these ungodly hours in order to survive. He has a wife and 3 children, and they are an older daughter is 20 years old, that majored in political science and is a college graduate. Mr. Shabab Nasser, who is just introduced himself, is in Mass College of Health and Pharmacy Services, in Boston, and they have a younger son that's 12 years old that attends a middle school in Quincy. So they are the epitome of hardworking. We will do what we need to survive, and we want to be good neighbors. I just want to repeat myself at the sake of being redundant. And primarily, a lot of the business during those hours are pickup, and people leave immediately and don't linger or don't litter. Don't linger or loiter, I should say. And then after the place closes, the owners go down the street and try to clean the trash from the sidewalks. And also the issue of the noise. This is an unusual setup. It has 2 bus lanes that where the residents park at night. And therefore, there's really no parking and there's very limited parking. So my clients and their management go out and tell people to please find a parking space. But delivery drivers being as they are, they just want to get in, get out, and keep delivering to make their money. And again, I'm not desensitized to the complaints of the neighbors, but this is unfortunately the city of Boston, and there's a lot of noise, and we apologize for any inconvenience this has caused the neighborhood. We strive to continuously improve the issue, and we'll continue to strive to improve and deal with the complaints that the neighbors have. And I'm willing to listen to them. I'm sure they're there to voice their concerns, and my clients would like to rebut whatever they say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Jabbour. I'd like to ask the board if they have any questions for the licensee before we open up to testimony.
Attorney Jabbour, I just have a couple of questions, either for you or for your client. Some of the complaints that came to us fall into the categories of noise late at night, double parking in the bus lane, the trash, which you addressed, and staying open even later than 3 a.m. And there was evidence submitted to us, or I should say there was an email submitted to us that said even their website said they were open till 4 a.m. or 3:40 a.m. I'm not sure. But
yeah.
what has your client done to change it? I understand these are very difficult times coming out of COVID, but there has to be some management on the part of the management that if they have 100 pizza orders at 2:45 or 3 a.m., they have to find a way to manage that. The license is only till 3 a.m.
I'm sorry, I believe, and I would step on your toes, or I think the license is to get out by 3:30.
Okay, but still, if you have 100 pizzas at 3 a.m. is what the email said. A conversation was. Either way, how does the management control this?
Well, first of all, I think the evidence that they opened later than their license was something that occurred, I believe, before they had a change in the legal change in the hours of their operation. And how they deal with it is that they try to time the orders, and they have no control over if somebody orders something and doesn't pick it up, but they have until the license says they have until 3:30 to get everybody out of the premises. So I assume, and I don't know this for a fact, that would include getting all the orders out the door by that hour. I think they're very cognizant and mindful of the limitations on their license, and they strive as best they can to control sometimes an uncontrollable situation.
That has to be a fact. It can't be something that you or your client assume. Everyone has to be out at 3:30. So if they can't control someone not coming to pick up their pizza by 3:30, that is an issue that they have to deal with. They should tell that customer that the doors are locked at 3:30.
Okay,
it's not a question of we have a couple more pizzas that have to be picked up, So that is something that we take very seriously for enforcement and reasons, and also for quality of life reasons.
Also, the way I see it, even if it does say 3:30, which I don't know how we got there from the docket I'm looking at, there should be no service of food after 3, and no one should be coming in after 3. That's people out. between, if it is in fact 3 to
Yeah.
3:30, that's only one way. No one can come in after 3. And no service of food can happen even if you're in the door before 3.
Commissioner Curran's correct. That's if there was seating inside and someone hadn't finished their meal, they have an extra 30 minutes to finish their meal.
I'm looking at the license. It says all patrons out by 3:30 a.m. Hours of operation 11 to 3. So, I mean, that's a well taken advice. And I think that my clients are striving, even before we came to the board, to address any concern that came to their attention. So I guess they're going to have a rule that says, or they're going to have to advise people as post it, that you have to be here by 3:30 to pick up your pizza or you're out of luck.
No, it's 3 o'clock
3 o'clock.
is the last time someone can come in. If the person's in there at 3 waiting for their pizza and it's not ready till 3:10, that's different. They can't allow people in after 3 o'clock.
I stand to be corrected. Okay, thank you.
And the other issue is the double and triple parking. How many staff are working at 3 o'clock in the morning?
There could be 2 or 3, maybe more. I'll have to let my client address that, but they have, as I said, endeavored to try to juggle, controlling the double parking and also making the food, getting people out. So, but as I said, most of the people come pick up their food and go. No sit down really at that hour. And as I said, to repeat, is that the people that usually they cater to at those hours are the, police officers, firemen, ambulance drivers, EMTs and whatnot. So, and these people are very, regular customers that want to come in and support them. And a lot of the police come and, which is a good thing, because if there are any violations or any double parking or anything untoward, they would correct it. But as I said, as far as they know, they've done the best they can to address the neighbors' concerns. And again,
I would suggest new signage at this location that says no entry after 3 a.m.
Okay, I will work on that. And for the double parking, we always make sure driver to usually we have Uber Eats drivers like Grubhub, so they usually double park, take their food, and they leave right away. And I have sign outside of the door that saying, "Please no noise, clean after you eat, and please don't double park."
Okay.
those already been in place for a while.
Yeah.
But just so we're clear, Commissioner Curran explained it better than I could, that it's when it says all patrons off by 3:30, I mean, service needs to end at 3 o'clock. If someone is lingering because their pizza isn't ready or has finishing up a slice of pizza inside, you cannot serve them after 3 and they have to leave at 3:30. At the
Okay,
very
so
latest.
we'll work on that. It was misunderstood. We'll work on it and try to fix it and make the neighborhood, accept us more. I mean, I'm here trying to help the neighborhood and everyone.
Any further questions from the board at this time?
Maybe more of a comment, but just building on what Chairwoman Joyce said. I think when you're at that late hour and you're expecting a lot of orders, you need to have a way to maybe limit the amount of orders you're going to take that is commensurate with the staffing you have on and your ability to control all the people that are going to show up at almost 3 a.m. for 50 orders. If you only have 3 people on, maybe you shouldn't take 50 orders for 2:30 in the morning.
Okay, so we'll understand, and also we'll try to make it let's, instead of 3 taking the last order at 3, we make it 2:45 or something. You know what I mean? So it doesn't be traffic at night. It doesn't cause so much people to complain about noise or anything. And usually the noise or the complaining when it's so busy, it's Friday and Saturday. But I work on it. As I said, we've been working on the issue with the neighbors and everything, and I'm trying my best to do everything. But we'll work on it and we'll still fix everything.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board right now? Okay. If you would like to testify, please use the raise hand function if you are able, or put your name in the chat. I will call on you in the order that I see you have signed up. Please do limit your testimony to 2 minutes. Before we turn to general testimony, I will ask if there are any elected officials or their representatives who would like to testify on this. Seeing none, we will turn to general testimony. In the order it's received, I see a hand raised from Barry Koritz. Mr. Koritz, you may go ahead.
Yes, my name again is Barry Koritz, and I'm a resident of 1313 Washington Street, where I live with my wife. We are almost directly across the street from Alex is Pizza, and so when you say there are closer people, I don't think there are. And I am disturbed, and my wife is disturbed. We are kept awake a lot, and our peace is disrupted. And often I'm up at 2 or 3 because of some kind of havoc out there. And I have seen the sign that says the neighbor in their window saying, please respect the neighbors, but it's off to the side behind some dirty glass. And I have never seen any enforcement or anything that has been talked about. But I must say, the hours, there was never a complaint before they started opening these late hours, and the noise is caused by many things. The double parking, you hear horns being honked because someone has blocked somebody else in. You hear radios loud, and especially in the summer with windows open, the car radios while they're sitting, the pickup delivery companies. You have they have trash pickup at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes later, sometimes a little earlier. I think the drivers come in, get some lunch, and they operate their truck. And sometimes they're triple parked because of the cars. They can't get closer to the location. There is, besides the noise, there's customers, there's loud talk. It's just uncalled for at that hour of the night. Safety, we've talked about double parking. Sometimes there's double parking on both sides of the road. And I've even seen triple parking. And I've seen it also when the truck comes to make its trash. They also get the bread delivered between 2 or 3 in the morning. Cleanliness. The building is, the street has got litter and paper plates and so forth. And we clean streets at night from 12 to 6. And those nights with the double parking and the customers there, I don't know how street cleaners can come in and do their work. They need to do something. I have not seen them reach out to us. That maybe they have, but there's a lot of us that are very disrupted. Another thing that drives me crazy is they have TVs in the window with menu boards facing out. They leave them on all night long, even when they're closed. And they also leave their open sign on at night, even when they're closed. This business is affecting the quality of life in our neighborhood, and something has to be done with it, whether they have to have they have to have security late at night to straighten it out, or their hours have to be cut back. But something has to be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Koritz. The next hand I see raised is from Nancy Radford, and we do remind folks to please keep your testimony to 2 minutes if possible. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I live at 1313 Washington Street as well. And I've been woken late at night on several occasions. There's double, triple parking. There's loud music. There's trash. I actually walked over late at night to speak to, I believe his name is Musa, the manager. And I tried to talk to him about it. And all he did was, actually, he interrupted me and he offered me free pizza. He said, anytime there's a problem, let him know, and he would deliver pizza to me. And I said, no, I really don't want pizza. And he sent over the pizza anyway. I said, I just want some peace and people shouldn't be double parking. And he said that there was a sign out there, and I looked and I didn't see the sign. And I walked over and asked him about it, and he said that he was told that he couldn't have a sign, that the neighborhood wouldn't allow it. So I haven't walked over there recently, so I'm not sure if that sign's in the window anymore. I looked on the website, and the website goes back and forth. Sometimes it will say 3, sometimes it will say 4. It depends on the website that you're looking at and whether you go in and actually try to order a pizza. Then the hours could be later. I checked a few minutes ago and it's back to 3 a.m. Another thing is on Monday evenings, there's street cleaning. I've witnessed this from my apartment. I've looked out the window, there's beeping. And when the street cleaners will beep, then the pizza folks will come out and move their cars, or they'll have the people visiting and picking up pizza, they'll have them move the cars. But the street cleaner beeps the horn, and that's their indication to move the cars that are double, triple parked. Let's see, what else? There's several people behind the counters late at night. I went over around 1 a.m. and there's at least, I don't know, 6, 8 people making the pies. It was crazy. It's just like a party atmosphere. It's incredible. The pizza, Alex's Pizza, used to be open, I believe it was 12 a.m. Somehow they got a license to open later, and they were under violation then for staying open later than usual. So I was never aware of any zoning or neighborhood meeting to discuss this. So I'm not quite sure how they got that late night license. So I'm just asking to please reconsider. It's really disruptive. So thank you.
Can I just jump in for a second, Danny? I just want to ask the licensee about the lights being left on and the sign being left on and the TV being left on for 24 hours. Is that something you can take some corrective measures and make sure it's turned off at 3 a.m.?
Absolutely.
Sure, we'll do that. Yeah, sure.
Okay, and for the record, for the public's information, they had a public hearing in 2019 to change the closing hour. So there was a public process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Radford. I don't see any other hands raised or anyone in the chat. Okay, I do see a hand raised here. Joan Atianese. Oh, you're still on mute. Hang on a second.
All right, am I off mute?
You're all set.
Thank you. The attorney's right, you know, they have no parking, they have no place to handle all this business. They don't belong here. They don't belong on a residential street. After the first hearing, I'm the one that was complaining initially because they had a license till 11 or 12, and they were open till 3 then too. And these men are not nice neighbors. If you go over there, they're very disrespectful. And we have so many restaurants on our street, and they are such wonderful neighbors. This is the only problem. They don't belong here. They have no parking. They have no facilities. And after the first meeting, which I called the board and said, I want to know when you have your licensing thing. I never heard. Then I got a copy of it, which I can't get it back again. There were 4 people from Wilkes Passage that said, they all had the same stationer, which was very interesting, that they were in favor of it. I brought it to the building manager at Wilkes, and none of them lived here. Nobody from Wilkes Passage was at that hearing. The attorney's right. They don't belong here. They belong in a place where they could park. They could have all their business. They can't handle this. It's not firefighters. It's Grubhub that's here all the time. You don't see a lot of people. It's all delivery. And all these guys, I worked a night shift. I know what it's like. When you're up, you think everybody's up. And it's in the wrong place. And it's at 11 o'clock, it would fit into the neighborhood and we would be happy with it. But it is in the wrong place. They can't handle the traffic. They can't handle the trash. There's a woman that picks up their pizzas in the park every day because by the time they do it, it blows all over the neighborhood. It is really a bad neighbor. And I'm sorry, they could move this in a place that would work better for us and them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I still don't see, as a reminder, if you would like to testify, please use the raise hand function if you are able to, or place your name in the chat. I see a raised hand from Mary Kelleher. You may go ahead.
Yes, hi. Yes, I'm ready. My name is Mary Kelleher, and I live directly across from Alex's Pizza as well. In fact, my bedroom faces towards the pizza place, and I can't tell you the number of times I've been woken up in the middle of the night for exactly the same reason that Barry and everyone else has complained about. And just as an aside, I'm a daughter of immigrants, so I fully appreciate the family and how hard they have to work. I'm also very familiar with how difficult it is for restaurants, and I have a lot of compassion towards that. But it has gotten so bad for me at night with the double parking, with the music. And I can tell you that one night I heard someone laying on a horn for at least 10 minutes trying to get out of a parking spot right underneath my window. And so this has been going on, since they extended the hours. And it's been just terribly inconvenient for me. I wake up, I have to sleep in another room. I have to, get out of my bedroom. That's how bad it's been. So, I don't know if there's a way you can hire a traffic officer at night, if there's not going to be a revocation of the license. Somehow, I just think that this disturbance has gotten so unbearable for me. And, I pay a lot of money in taxes. I pay a lot of money to live in this city. And I just think that it's just unfair. So that's it. And I want to thank everybody who's here today.
Thank you, Ms. Kelleher. I do see a hand raised from Nancy Radford. I just want to ask beforehand, is there anyone who has not yet testified who would like to provide further testimony? Okay, all right, Ms. Radford, did you have something to add?
I think she already spoke.
She did. I see a hand raised though. All right. Are there any additional people who wish to testify who have not yet done so?
Sorry, is it okay to speak now?
We'll give you 1 minute to wrap up because we've already had an opportunity.
Okay. I forgot to mention that Musa called me on my cell phone a couple times and asked if I had called the police and that he wanted to make it right. And what did I want for dinner? He would deliver something. So I told him never to call me again.
Okay,
And
I'm gonna jump in.
that's
before we
all.
Go back to the licensee and his attorney. It sounds like the licensee's had an opportunity to hear about some of the complaints. It's clear to me licensee has tried, but has tried to take these complaints into consideration, but some of the residents don't want to hear from him directly. I think the attorney has testified that his client is going to make some corrective measures as far as turning off all the lights at 3 a.m. and make sure that no one else enters the premise at 3 a.m. I was going to suggest that the licensee provide the neighbors a number to call should they have complaints immediately that could be taken care of, but I'm not sure that the neighbors want that direct contact. I'm not sure. But I'm going to ask the attorney to see if he has any final words, or the licensee if he wants to address some of the comments that have just been shared in the last half hour.
No, I just wanted to thank them for coming out and expressing their opinions. And I've been on their end of complaints before. And I just want to emphasize that the South End has changed quite a bit. I grew up there as a child, and I know the neighborhood very well. And also the restaurant business has changed quite a bit too, with this Grubhub and Uber, and that's a relatively new concept. And as far as the street cleaning, again, I hope I'm not talking out of turn, but usually the residents have the right to park there in the bus lane. That creates some of the issues. And there's not enough parking to begin with. But the point I'm trying to really make is that these complaints are going to be taken. We would, if the neighbors want, we can have a person to call. And so if something's too loud, they can call, and if my client is unaware of it, which it shouldn't be the case, he can go out right away and deal with it. So it's nipped at the bud. I mean, I don't know what else to say, except for, unfortunately, the business and the neighbors have to somehow coexist in peace, and we're gonna try to make that happen.
Thank you, Attorney Jabour. I do see two more hands raised. I just want to make sure that folks who have signed up to testify have the opportunity to do so. So the next hand I see raised is from Peter Friedman.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I live on the Washington Street side, up on the 6th floor, and all the prior comments about double parking and noise. It's not so much lights from my perspective, from where I live, but it is. I mean, you hear it quite loud, well into the wee hours of the morning. And I agree with, you know, I love Alex's Pizza. I am a customer myself, and I love the folks in there. It's a great little place, and my wife and I enjoy the pizza and enjoy the salads. But the late night business really it is a disturbance, and you know, anything we could do to either eliminate or you know, if we're not going to reduce the 3 a.m. Again, I don't know if there could be a compromise, maybe 1 a.m. on the weekends. I don't know, but anything we could do to limit the amount of late night noise, I think would be greatly appreciated. So that's all I want to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. The next hand I see raised is from Faina Smith. Faina Smith, are you able to speak? Here we go.
I just wanted to say I live on the 6th floor and my windows do not face Alex's Pizza. So I'm not as much affected by all this commotion as my neighbors are. However, I would just like to address the attorney and talking to about immigrants and about children who go to nice schools and working very hard and all this. We have a lot of people in our building who are immigrants who work very hard and who cannot sleep at night because of the noise across the street. I was driving my husband to the emergency room one of the nights, and I was appalled by the number of cars parked by Alex's Pizza. There was double and triple and all this. I've never seen it. And when I saw it, I was really appalled. So I think the real issue here is not that it is not a nice business. It's not that we don't like this business or we don't like immigrants. As you can hear very well from my accent, I am not a native speaker. But what we want is the change of the hours. And I would very much like the licensing board to look at the people who were represented Wilkes Passage there, who do not live in the building, did not live in the building, and how that process happened. And I would like the licensing board to really pay a lot of attention to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Are there any, last call if there are any additional individuals, oh, hang on, you're still on speaking. Last call for any additional individuals who would like to testify who haven't yet done so. Okay, any for, yes, if you have something that we'll give you 1 minute if you would like to add anything briefly.
I think the idea of me waking up in the middle of the night and calling Alex's Pizza and tell them they're too noisy is no solution. The business is in the wrong place. And the attorney was, you know, give us his number. Let me call him at 3 in the morning, see if he likes it. You know, I don't want the responsibility of calling Alex's Pizza because I've been there and they're very disrespectful. I don't want that. I want to be able to go to bed at night with the rest of the neighborhood closing at 11 or 12, no problems, no trash. We have nice neighbors all over these businesses. They're in the wrong space. They should bring their hours back to the rest of the neighborhood. And I appreciate, I come from a family of immigrants too. So he is not the only one that here. My immigrant family really followed the law, but he was opening till 3 when he had a license till 11. This is what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with a good neighbor. We're dealing with somebody who pushed the law. And it's, One day it's 4 o'clock and one day it's 3 o'clock and whatever he could get away with. He doesn't care about us. He should be someplace else. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any, oh, I do see one hand, Liam Brosen.
Yeah, I wasn't really going to say anything. I live in the building also, and I'm a pretty frequent customer of Alex's Pizza. I definitely don't live on the Washington Street side, and those sound like valid complaints about noise. This has gotten really weird about immigration and racism, and I'm not sure what's going on here. All I have to say is, you know, I go there at night quite a lot, and I don't see a ton of people there, usually some other students. And, you know, if there's photos of double parking, that would be really great to see, or, you know, take a video when there's noise, because I'm sure there will be a violation hearing in the future. But just some weird stuff. I'd like it if we don't say that.
Thank you, Mr. Brosen. Any last comments or questions from the chairwoman or commissioners? No. All right. And then finally, as there is no further testimony, any final comments from Attorney Jabbour?
Yes, I just want a clarification from Chairwoman Joyce. I'm taking a note, but I got distracted. You were suggesting new signage to say what? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm suggesting turning off the bright signs and the TVs at 3 a.m. and also clear signage that says no double parking and please be respectful of our neighbors. I also think it might be, if there is so many people working behind the counter at this time, you may want to reassign someone to work the door to remind patrons when they leave to be respectful of the neighbors. It might go a long way to solve some of these complaints.
No, these are very constructive suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for testifying today. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Saxon.
Last comment, you know, if you don't want to call the pizza owner, and if you feel that these are matters that are pretty serious, you can also call the police.
If I could just, they have called the police and the police come and I don't want to be presumptuous because I didn't have a chance to go to area 4, I believe, and get the police logs. Didn't have time, but my clients tell me that the police do come and I don't see anything really wrong. And I'd like to confirm that with the records from the police department. I've not been able to do that, but my clients tell me. But that's a point well taken, and hopefully we can move forward in a constructive and peaceful manner. Neighbors are entitled to their peace and quiet. My clients have a big investment in you know, keeping this business going, because that's his only source of livelihood. So I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Jabbour. That will conclude this informational hearing. And those are the matters before the board today. Thank you all for your testimony and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.